Atlanta's got some work done over the offseason. It got fresh new asphalt, more banking, a narrow racing surface, and a new package, all with the purpose of becoming a super speedway. But why? Why would one of the most beloved racetracks in NASCAR do something this extreme? Let's talk about it. Now, to understand the why part, we must first talk about how Atlanta became so loved in the first place. AMS was built in 1958 and officially opened 2 years later in 1960. Originally, it was a 1.522 mile racetrack in length, and it was a simple classic oval. Think of the original Atlanta like a bigger, faster, and steeper Bristol Motor Speedway. But in 1990, it was acquired by Speedway Motorsports, which wanted to change the layout of the racetrack to a quad oval, and that change was officially completed in 1997. However, it was not well received for its unoriginal design, as it was a straight up replica of the other two SMI tracks, Charlotte and Texas Motor Speedway. But over the years, it has started to gain a reputation for some great racing and incredible finishes. Not only that, but Atlanta was starting to differentiate itself from other 1.5 mile tracks. It had character. As the years went by, the track started to age more and more. While other quad ovals had been repaved, Atlanta was still in its original quad oval form in 1997, and it became both a driver and fan favorite since aerodynamics was less of a factor and it was more in the driver's hands. With cars slipping and sliding around and tire management being a key importance, it became one of the most loved racetracks in the NASCAR circuit. But nearing the end of the 2010s, there was a shift happening mainly with the fans. The on-track product had started to become stale and boring. While the high downforce package contributed greatly to the poor racing, many also looked at the track itself and figured it needed an update. The track had not been touched for 24 years. Every year, track officials had to patch the surface around the seams and cracks all over the racing area in order for it to be raceable. And in the 2021 summer race at Atlanta, the track literally started falling apart. The track was under a red flag situation after a piece of the track came apart on the front stretch. It was at that moment that everyone knew that a repave was imminent. On July 6, 2021, it was announced that Atlanta would be getting a repave, which was expected. But what was not expected was its reconfiguration. It would still remain a 1.5 mile quad oval, except now it will have 4 more degrees of banking, and the racing surface has been shortened except for the front stretch, which has been increased from 55 feet to 61 feet and another 6 inches. 13 feet on the backstretch, and 15 feet in the corners. Now again, it's no surprise that Atlanta got the repave, but why the reconfiguration? Why did it need to become a super speedway? Well, here are my 3 reasons. Number 1, pack racing equals entertainment. This is a no-brainer. If you're going to build a super speedway or change an existing track to become one, you do it for entertainment. It's no surprise that the most hair-raising, exciting, and most intense racing is on the speedways of Daytona and Talladega. Having 40 cars race 3 to 4 wide at nearly 200 miles an hour inches from each other is very entertaining, and it's usually some of the most watched races of the season. For sure, having a NASCAR race at a super speedway with pack racing would definitely have the hardcore fans watching, but also would have the casual fans take a look at it as well. This will drum up interest not only in terms of ratings, but also in terms of attendance, which Atlanta has been slacking at for numerous years. Number 2, repaves generally suck. Okay, for longtime NASCAR fans, they will understand why repaves at a racetrack usually suck. That's why drivers kept on delaying Atlanta to repave the track, because they knew it would lead to bad racing if it was repaved. See, on intermediate tracks, repaves are not good for racing because it becomes a one groove track, right on the bottom above the apron. If you even think about trying to make a pass on the outside lane, you either lose positions or you nearly wreck yourself trying to make that happen. By making it a super speedway, you eliminate that possibility of happening. Since you're going full throttle anyways, it doesn't matter which lane you run in, you're gonna be packed up together regardless. So converting it to a super speedway will at the very least make repaves not that big of a deal. And finally, it's different. Remember what I said earlier, when Atlanta was first repaved into a quad oval in 1997, it was criticized for being almost a carbon copy of Charlotte and Texas. It wasn't until years later that Atlanta became its own track due to the character of the track's surface. Repaving it would just put it back in the categories of similar 1.5 mile tracks like Charlotte, Texas, Las Vegas, and Kansas. By having pack racing type of track style this small puts Atlanta in uncharted territory, and it's a great promotion for its events and will for sure stand out from the rest of the other cookie cutter tracks. Now, a big question about Atlanta's reconfiguration is why didn't they become a short track? Why become a super speedway? Short tracks are generally loved by fans, and race fans have been wanting more of short tracks. I don't know. I really don't know why. But there have been skepticism about Atlanta becoming a super speedway, as evident by Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, who have criticized and suggested that Atlanta under these circumstances would not be possible to hold quote-unquote pack racing. But after the tire test with Kurt Busch, Ross Chastain, and Chris Buescher, those three drivers gave a different answer. All three of them stated that Atlanta was extremely different and might as well become a new racetrack, but all of them also stated that Atlanta will be more like Daytona and Talladega, with more drafting being the main game and basically having a super speedway approach to this event. The only difference is that things are going to be happening a lot quicker, as Kurt Busch pointed out, because you're racing at a smaller venue. But that is why I believe Atlanta decided to become a super speedway. Now, will Atlanta becoming a super speedway actually succeed? Well, we'll have to wait and find out.